statue of one of the Cosimos, the Medicis. They have enough power, you spread the evidence everywhere. This is the Church of Santos Spirito, and a pretty little courtyard, which would be, or plaza rather, which would be even prettier. If it wasn't so cold you could see your breath and one wonders when it's going to start to snow rather than just rain. But I should annoy the gods that way. This restaurant I stopped in for a bite to eat when it was really cold. It uses outlines of the, or profile of the Santos Spirito for people to put in what their inspiration of what that could be used for. So there you see one obviously with a Christmas tree, and here a cute one, person sitting on the railroad tracks. Either the train's coming at him or he's looking at the sun. One I particularly like is an ornate doorbell with the name Brunelleschi, who designed the Santos Spirito Church, I think. Just to orientate you, we are not at 6, but to the left at Cont'd. Just about ready to go across onto the other side of the river. Again, this is a bit closer to the bridge, but you can't pass up these kind of architecture. I'm not even sure they had to pass a law saying you can't tear down the old buildings. They just don't do it. And on that point, let me shoot up to this building under construction, because it looks like the construction style is going to be the classical. So this bridge, designed by Brunelleschi, not too far away from Ponte. I'm thinking that is that church I saw earlier, Castello, that I went to just before I went into the Church of the Carmeline. Here's the modern equipment of Della Robbia's work. If you really want to blow the minds of your local Jackson people, you should get one of these kind of barbecues. Nobody has one of those. And of course, should have a pile of grapes. Add some flavor. But what elegant kitchen tables these would make. That's the Church Celesto that I was at earlier, and the fish dam, or whatever this is called. And what I'm here for is to look at this church, which I will probably pronounce incorrectly, but I think is the Ognissanti. This is Piazza Ognissanti. This statue is of Hercules and the lion. Probably at one time it had the name of the artist, but I'm not sure that that's possible to detect anymore. And this may be some kind of ceramic, maybe a Della Robbia, but if it is, the surface has been heavily weathered and there again polished. This is the former church of San Pancrazio. It's now the Museo Marino Marini, which I think must be modern art or something like that. And since I have to go to the bathroom, I think soon, I will go to this museum. It's a good enough incentive. While I know very little about art, nothing about modern art, and zero about this, it's an interesting counterpoint just to come look at it compared to all of the classical art that I've been exposed to in the last 4 or 5 days. At first it's kind of hard to figure out what this is about, but what it appears to be is a man on a horse that has just fallen. As you can see, the horse's head here on the left has twisted a bit to the right, and it appears to be in the process of falling over, since its 2 forefeet are right together. And here is the rider, and I'm guessing that what we'll see on this side is well, I'm not sure. I thought it was going to be his mouth, but it doesn't look like it. It's just the rider slung back from the momentum of the falling horse. Here's something even more strange. It looks like an animal, perhaps a horse. That's the part that's the right end. The left end looks like it's at least somehow human, because there's a face. But what exactly is happening, unless this is to somehow reflect the trauma of someone falling backwards off a horse? Now here's a graphic version of the statue here, or whatever it is, sculpture. But what is supposed to reflect, I just haven't a clue. All of these in this room seem to be on the theme of man and horse. But whether they're a ballet, a positive thing between the man and the horse, or the human and the horse. For example, this is a ballet. Is it an exuberance of the unity of man and horse? Or is it someone getting tossed off a horse that just sat down? I don't know. Now here we're looking at what is a series of, to me, inscrutables. And as I pan through these, I'm wondering, is this modern art not the same as the art that I've been trying to learn about, the Renaissance art? In this way, that there is, for whatever the reason, a migration from one style, medieval, to another, Renaissance, from low Renaissance to high Renaissance to Baroque, and that whatever compels those changes is a natural and legitimate dynamic, simply because it is, if it was done with honest intent, whatever that means. And as the non-artist, if you begin to learn about those progressions and why they occurred and their elements of change, then you have bought into that artistic progression. And is that any less legitimate than what the artist did? And therefore, is there any less justification for this stuff than for the Renaissance art that I, at this moment, seem to revere? But again, if you don't know the art and its history and its evolution, and you stand around oohing and eyeing, aren't you like those who sniff the cork off a new bottle of wine and pretend they actually know something about the wine? It's an interesting space within this old church. dating from, I think, the 900s. And of course they've done some beautiful things to use this space. That window, these walkways suspended in air, very nicely metal and wood. There's something very pleasant about walking through this ancient space on modern conveyances. And without in any way at all trying to be sarcastic or denigrating, I wonder what it is that I am to look for, that I am to see, to sense, to feel. I see strangeness. Again, I have to chalk it up to my ignorance. There is so much that I've heard about Impressionism, Cubism, blah, 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 that I recognize a profound hole of ignorance on my part. This is a pretty space. These are comfortably within my framework. I look at this, for example, and I can sense an exuberance in the rider, very much like the scene from Dances with Wolves in the very beginning, but not a mordant thing as that was, but here with exuberance, and the horse feeling the same exuberance. I'm not sure that's ever true. But why the graffitied black and red? Where's that adding to it? Maybe it's just my sensitivities that it's detracting from. Excuse my cynical humor, but I'm just hoping that that's not a piece of art, and in fact was where perhaps some kind of fire extinguisher was suspended. Again, I hope you can get the lovely feeling from the old church arches, the lighting, and the modern materials of glass and steel and wood. Now this is an interesting view. If I analyze it correctly, the head of the horse is just below the top there, and he's looking to the upper left away from us. And the human being is somehow riding on his neck, but with his foot in between what would be an unrealistic back end of the horse, between the two legs above the tail. Of course, a horse doesn't look like that. These being the feet of the human, they're the haunches of the horse on the top. Very tortured, of course. And here almost the back of the human being for some reason. Although that looks like the leg of the human being, so no telling for sure. In fact, they seem to meld together, the horse and the human being. And maybe that's a point too.